Hey y'all, what it do? MMA Toad here. I'm gonna go through UFC 254 taking place at London this Saturday, starting 1 p.m. on the prelims Eastern Time. So make sure you catch that. I know we're used to our fight nights, but in retrospect, I'm happy this is better for the fighters in London, in the UK. They're not the ones getting fucked over fighting at 5 a.m. like they did the last time we were there. So kicking things off in the main event, we're going to have Leon Edwards taking on Sean Brady. A little worried for Edwards. It looks like he has staph infection. I do have him as my pick as we go into the weigh-in and just see some of his pad work and so forth. I will potentially, the night of, switch my pick to Sean Brady. I do think that the grappling could be a little tiring and wearing on Leon's staph infection, especially coming into that 4th, 5th round. Brady could hunt for that submission. I could see a late 4th or even like a 3rd or 4th round submission by Brady. But that being said, I mean, Bilal Muhammad did piece up Brady. If he can do it, Leon especially could do it. We know that he's acceptable to getting popped in the nose pretty good. Here's my picks overall. I'm going to go through on Tapology throughout the fight, just give you a quick little visual if you're able to see that. And without further ado, let's get into it. Kicking off on the prelims, early prelims, we got Garam taking on Fernandez. I think Garam gets this fight done. I'm a little iffy about distance on this one. I know lightweight, these guys just clash. It's like the perfect weight class where these guys are able to go toe-to-toe, just absolutely crush and swing the shit out of each other. Both fighters pretty good with the TKOs for second round. You can see especially Fernandez is just known for his first round finish, whereas to Garam's, he's going to have it over the course of the second, third round, kind of break down his opponents. So as the fight goes on, especially, I favor Garam to win this fight, but I'm not counting Fernandez out until we get into that second round. I'm going to take Garam by likely knockout or decision. Moving up the card, I'm going to take Nathan Fletcher taking on the fucking... You guys remember Tekken? Remember Jax? That big ass headed fucking robot that just could eat thousands of shots. It's kind of what Lochran reminds me of, man. Like, he's not a very defensively sound fighter. He is tough as shit. He's going to continue to march and put pressure on Fletcher, try to find his opportunities, try to select his shots. I just think the game plan for Fletcher is simple. Take this fight off the feet, and everyone's susceptible to a choke at the end of the day. I think Fletcher is going to be edging a decision while hunting a submission. If he's, going to get it done within the distance, that's how. Another fight I'm going to stay away from distance on. Moving up the card, we got Shauna Bonin taking on Tom Moore, who's actually a pretty solid matchup for her. Pretty equal resumes, minus the fact that Tamara's got more losses. But if you look at the striking mix and so forth, yeah, they get it done on the feet, both gals. If either one of these were a grappler, I'd be worried for the other. But the fight's going to be right where both fighters are comfortable mixing, exchanging. Bonin, very lengthy for the weight class. I could see her just kind of circling off and playing it safe. Tomar is going to be the one that's always going to be in a situation having to cross the void. So I think path of victory for Bonin is circle off the outside, incorporate your kicks, incorporate your jabs. Don't be the first to engage. I think she'll be hitting a lot off her back foot and just kind of countering and using that distance. All right, moving up the card, we got Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Andre Puliev, I think is how you say this guy's name. It's going to be a tough match for him here, making his UFC debut. He's done pretty good up to this point. Also, it's kind of strange for Andre. You're used to a lot of these grapplers, heavy submission game. Notice he's never been submitted too, so he's definitely got it. But the majority of his wins are coming from his exchanges with the hands, getting his knockouts. We all know Leroy Duncan. He goes in there for wars. He goes in there to bang surprisingly, RoboCop and was it Petrosian? Yeah, Petrosian wasn't able to get it done. Lost those fights via decision, but otherwise, when he's winning a majority of the fight, 80% of his fights, he's getting it done within the distance. I think at middleweight, it makes sense. This is going to be probably my first leg. I know neither guy's really been finished all that much, but it's just a perfect recipe. I know more times than not, these guys are going to hit that shot that put each other out. And yeah, I'm liking this one. I'm liking this one under 2.5. I'm going to sprinkle it in on my long shot parlays, but I'll also include the same parlays without it just as much, or even rather do that. Might as well hit the over, right? So I'm guaranteeing it. If you tailed me last week or saw what I had posted, I had my 7 and 8 leg all leading up to Delice and Marvin Vittori over and under 4.5 rounds. The under was a 7 leg that was going to pay me 8,000 plus, and the over was 8 leg, and that was going to pay me 7,000 plus, right? So payout prop, right? So again, pretty fucking crazy. If you're pretty confident with most of your selections and you're stuck between two, it never hurts to fire it both ways and just reduce that initial wager, right? At the end of the day, these are long shots, so shouldn't be anything too big anyways. So was able to do that and secure the win either way. I kicked up my feet and enjoyed the main card. I love that. I was sweating the entire card up to that point. But yeah, I think the fight's going to be pretty nice. I see Duncan hurting Andre viciously up against the side of the octagon, hitting some like uppercut up the middle or some knee to try to break down Andre, and just finishes them via TKO in the second round. All right, moving up the card here. A lot of people split on this one. We got Tybura versus Mick Parkin. Obviously, Mick, A, he's undefeated. B, he's training with Tom Aspinall. But the level of opposition is still the thing I question. And we know that Tybura, he's been up there with some of the better guys. You know, he's losing, but who is he losing to? You know, Tom Aspinall, Volkov. Those are two really, really big names. There's Derek Lewis. So yeah, he's got some other names on there. It's like, whatever. Like Spivak, sure. But yeah, I just see Marcin. He's been there at least enough to prove that he's fought with some tough adversity. And for these guys that just want to stand and bang with him, the game plan's simple. Just get the fight to the ground. Heavyweight's pretty blobby. These guys love to be toe-to-toe and just swing, make really sloppy situations, really slow scrambles. And Tybura is at least athletic enough to take advantage of a majority of these, keep the pressure, wear on his opponents, and hunt for that submission, So, yeah, I see Tybura. If he does win, it's likely via decision or submission for Parkin. I think the guy's got to count on his hands. He's got to count on his hands to hit the big knockout. I don't see him winning this one by decision against a predominantly grappler-heavy opponent in Marcin. So, curious to see how this one goes. It's because of the fact that I could see this kind of being, a grappler's affair where Marcin is controlling Parkin but not quite able to finish Mick. I could see it going to the judges. Naturally, though, being a heavyweight bout, I still like to take the over-under generally at 2.5 under, unless they're just someone like Tom Aspinall or someone who comes out in the first round. Then sure, give me the better payout. I'll just take under 1.5. But this is another one that I'll probably sprinkle on at the very least under 2.5, and then include the same parlays without it. But yeah, interested to see how this one plays out. My overall pick, though, again, is I'm going to go Marcin with the submission. So, all right, moving up the card here. I like that we got Lohner taking on this fight. Kavanaugh's a very, very good striker. He's fun. He's quick. He has nice little short-range combinations. He's good on getting out and disengaging and not eating unnecessary damage when he's not the one giving it. But I do think that Felipe Dos Santos offers a good threat in the grappling, more so than anyone Kavanaugh has really fought up to this point. And I think the path of victory for Santos is to get this fight to the ground, where Kavanaugh may start to tire and be susceptible to a choke come second, third round. I am taking Loner. I do like the odds of Loner getting the knockout, but man, again, we've seen some people fight Santos and just not be able to do it right. He's never been knocked. There's Manel. There's Andre Lima. But is that saying that he can't get knocked? No, I'm absolutely. You got hometown advantage. You got a guy that is quick enough, snappy enough, has everything it takes. Just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean it can't happen ever. So I am staying away from method specific knockout, single method, but I might sprinkle on like a double method, right? Decision and knockout, just to get that little extra payout prop. And as far as distance goes, I'm gonna play with it. I'm gonna have it in a long shot, and I'm gonna have it not in a long shot. Again, I can mix this up and take under 2.5 and over 2.5 in the same series of parlays. More likely than not, I'll probably stay away from this on my primary hammers. So could see this one going to a decision. Either way, right? Another thing to consider, going kind of back to back between Mick and Loner, you got to remember is 2025 has been absolutely cursed, has absolutely been cooked. All these good prospects are losing their O's. That's something you guys got to take into accountability also, especially, when choosing who's the upsets and so forth. It could just as easily be both of these guys tonight given their opponents. All right, moving up the card, you got the Black Beast? Is that his yeah, the Black Country Banger. I always knew his fucking nickname was so goofy. Jai Herbert taking on Chris Padilla. I like Padilla. I think Taco's, a savage with it. He comes out, he hunts for the finish. He isn't there to fuck around. He's predominantly more a striker, but he will use those opportunities when his opponents are giving up their backs and shelling up due to just the fucking strength and velocity this guy seems to carry, and hunt for the submission when given it. Jai Herbert, as we know, loves to just use his stature for the weight class. Long-rangey kicks, long-rangey strikes. Almost was the one that knocked out, was it Ilya Taporia with a head kick? I mean, it was absolutely, or was it a knee? I think it was a kick. But man, Ilya's tough as shit for eating that one. Herbert fucks up a lot of people with those long, snappy shots. It's how he's gotten primarily a winning record. And if you look, look at all these knockouts. Absolutely fucking wild. Obviously a bit of a skid, but up until that point, man, he was doing quite well for himself. So, very excited to see that fight. I'm going to take Taco. I like this fight within the distance also. I think for the fact that Herbert's offering his own threat with the striking, Padilla being the one that's going to be pressured across the void, being a little bit smaller on the stature side, he is going to be the one getting in close quarter, letting off vicious combinations, and probably taking this fight down to the ground where he'll hunt the finish via ground and pound, 12-6 elbow, or submission. I do like Padilla by double method, submission and knockout, whereas if you were to sprinkle on Herbert, probably just via knockout on this one, and I have it under 2.5 rounds as well, and I'm including this in my main distant parlay. Moving up the card, we're going to take Charriere taking on Nathaniel Wood. What was it? Card or two ago, Nathaniel Wood's hopping on a fucking jet. Fights are being all switched around. We're like, what in the fuck is going on? Some of us had speculation that Nathaniel Wood was getting on this jet to fill in for an opponent who would be swapping around to fill in for Arman Sarukian, right? So I think it was originally like, okay, well, I guess he's going to be maybe fighting, what was it, Dariush? Is he going to be fighting Dariush, moving up in weight? That's going to be fucking terrible for him, right? Like, what is he doing? This motherfucking nerd just got on a plane, wanted to prep, wanted to train. I don't know. It was like a huge clickbait, but this dude's making all kinds of headlines, like looking like he was going to be the hero to save a card. Cracked me up. But I do fuck with Morgan Charrier. Dude's another well-rounded, mixed martial artist. But the difference in the two of these guys is Wood. He's gone through a share of wars. He's taken a share of damage. And we know that Charrier absolutely fucking dishes it. I could see Wood actually looking very good in this fight until he doesn't. Just because the way that Charrier connects and hits, it takes a good situation, turns into a bad one real quick for his opponent. So I've been kind of back and forth on this one as far as distance. For Morgan's side of things, I really like it when he's winning because it's going to be more times than not by that knockout. But when he's losing, it's by decision. And Nathaniel Wood at this point in his career, he's not really hunting finishes as much. He's edging decisions right here. Unanimous, unanimous, unanimous. Lost to unanimous, 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 unanimous. You're like, where in the fuck are these submissions and knockouts at? Well, those were the earlier days, the better days of this veteran fighter, Nathaniel Wood. So all I would say is, if you're going to go with Wood, you might as well get a bigger payout. Hit it by unanimous decision. But I'm going to go Charrier, and I'm going to say that he gets it done within the distance. Making it another fight, depending the prop. You know, if it's plus 150 or something like that for under 2.5 rounds. Even though it's a smaller weight class, and I generally try to shy away from it if they're not at least fighting at welterweight to really secure these finishes. Nonetheless, I may fuck around tail with that. Same thing as before. Throw it under, throw it over, mix it up a bit. I got a smorgasbord full of these distances. I don't think I'm going to hit that 7-8 leg, so I'm not really going to be trying as much this week, but I will have several 3 and 4 legs that I'm confident in. So we'll be having it go both ways on the mix up there. Now next on this card we have Chris Duncan taking on Jordan Vucinic. Pretty solid fighter here. Another guy who's well-rounded from what I've seen. He's going to be able to mix it pretty good with his grappling, his striking, and is also very fucking tough. Chris Duncan's he's got a button on his chin that's just not looking the best for him right there. And you can see right there, he got rear naked choke, left hook from Slava Claus. Not the most terrible thing in the world, because that dude shows up and wants to stand and bang and does quite well doing so, unless your name's Chase Hooper. I guess these taller, lengthier guys have that extra snap. But nonetheless, Chris Duncan doing pretty good. Loves these exchanges. Wants to fucking throw. It's in his blood. It's what he wants to do. And I just see Jordan being kind of the wrong person to want to do that with, and being able to mix it up in ways that Chris just isn't going to want to be there. I could see Jordan just drowning Chris in the fucking deep and hunting a submission in this fight. Another fight that I'm going to be taking via submission and knockout, because I could see this fight ending with some ground and pound as well. Even though statistically speaking, Jordan's had a share of fights via decision, I like this one within the distance as well. I think having a real live interactive crowd can bring out some crazy adrenaline, some just raw fucking I don't know, desperation, some energy, people chanting, screaming your name, your friends, your family, everyone's all there. You know, it's like you're going to do everything in a dire situation to get that W. So I see that changing the fight versus if this one's in the apex, and I like it under 2.5 for that reason, especially. Moving into the main, Molly Meatball McCann taking on Alexia Thenera. She's coming out of an almost perfect record. She lost to Bruno Brazil, which ages pretty okay, given the fact that this is back in like 2019. Another UFC fighter. She had her time out on Contender, and it's been very back and forth since, right? Um, that part is whatever, right? It's just the fact that here we are. You lost one time. It was prior to the UFC. It was 6 years ago. Oh yeah, and it was to a fighter at least good enough to get to that dance, right? So pretty promising fighter. And her kryptonite for Molly is this right here, her submission game. She is going to not want to be on the feet with Molly, and she's going to want to use her physical strength, get Molly on the ground. And we've seen Molly struggle here again and again and again. And it's tough for her given the fact that her best friend and teammate, Patty Pimblett, that's what these guys are known for. That's what they do. They love their king of the ring or king of the mat jiu-jitsu, their grappling. Molly just wants to be one of the bros. She wants to come on her fucking swing. She wants to throw hammers. She wants to do spinning back fists and spinning elbow KOs. And when she gets them, the whole crowd goes crazy. She goes on a Nimbus. She's so fucking happy, kicking her feet up on the table, having a slice of pizza, fucking getting all the interviews, all the fame, all the glory. It's kind of like Molly's become the Tai Tuivasa of the women's MMA, because when she's getting that victory and the whole crowd's celebrating with her and she's super happy and she's just kind of goofy with it, you know what I mean? But here, when we're starting to go up in the rankings, fighting girls who actually are mixed martial artists who will grapple and use technical skills against Molly, where she's shown where her weaknesses are, well, it's not so much fun in games anymore. You can see here, Blanchfield was a very tough one. The crucifix raining down on the elbows, that was a fucking tough one. And Molly was very cocky at the press conference going into that fight against Erin Blanchfield. And we thought Erin Blanchfield was just going to go straight for the title after that before Marone. And yeah, sure enough, there's the name again, Bruno Brazil. They both share that commonality. They both share a loss to Bruno Brazil, who, in her own right is a very hit and miss fighter, but tough. She's shown that she has a little bite in her, despite she's been at it for a while too, right? So, Molly, again, get a couple wins, get a couple losses. Now we got a loss. It's going to look very bad to streak another 2 set of losses. We need to get Molly a W, but her opponent says otherwise, right? And I think the matchmaking for UFC kind of knows, and I get it. I suspect that with Drakus being the undisputed champion, trying to build a presence, do a card in, Africa at some point, you're going to need some other prospects other than Garimbo and some of the very few same fucking people we keep cycling out of Africa. So I like to see a new face in the UFC. I'm excited for this UFC debut. Let's see what it's about. Let's see what she can do against Molly. I'm going to predict a submission, and I absolutely love this fight within 2.5 rounds. Women's MMA, more times than not, it's always over 2.5. It's just like a little parlay booster. It's like, oh yeah, these girls go to the judges all the time. Not this one. I think Alexia either gets a submission, maybe ground and pound, can't rule that out either, but more than likely a submission, or Molly's just absolutely fucking flatlining her on the feet. That's my prediction on that fight. Moving up the card, kind of the same thing, except for at least Kevin can mix it in both pedigrees pretty well. We get Gunnar Nelson taking on Kevin Holland. Gunnar, very veteran, doesn't fight nearly all that much, has had his share of injuries, and then Kevin Holland has had his highs, very active, also on a Nimbus, looks like he's just going to be a world beater going straight for the belt. Doesn't go his way, goes up to middleweight, hates cutting the weight, starts having more fun. Well, the fun has cost him a lot of his aura and a lot of his professional record, because yikes, when we open this thing up, it went from just looking absolutely outstanding until it didn't. Starting with Derek Brunson, then it goes on to Marvin, and you see this what we were just talking about, moving up to middleweight. It just was not the fucking move. It absolutely was not the fucking move, and he's just been back and forth since. Back and forth since. He got fucked out of his fight with D-Rod. He got fucked out of that fight because of Hamzat. No surprise there. Thought he had Wonderboy Thompson. Had a gentleman's agreement not to grapple. Absolutely starched the fucking shit out of Thompson in that first round. Breaking his own fucking hand in the process or something. Becoming hurt throughout the fight. Thompson comes back. Tough loss out to Jack. It was a split decision. But MVP comes in. Zaps, that aura. Otherwise, that Kevin had up to that point. Then he really gets it back here. I love the submission against Michael. Twisting that armbar. Dude just did not want to tap. Broke his shit. But yeah, anytime he's up against a pretty predominant grappler, here we are, Delice, Ritter. It's just not the easiest time out for Kevin. So the thing that he has on his side is the fact he's back down to welterweight, and Gunnar has his share of octagon rust. So, I mean, here we are. We haven't seen him since March of 23. It's been 2 years. And that was against Barberena, who isn't even in the UFC anymore. But yeah, interesting to see this one from Gunnar's. Like, how does the octagon rust look? I like Kevin's ability to mix it up better on the feet. Rangy. It's like always in that first round you find Kevin just waking his opponent up with a big fucking kick or a really big punch. It's in the clinch and those like kind of in betweens that we start to see Kevin's opponents have a shot back into the fight. When Kevin's at range in his striking, I find that he opens up a lot of opportunities to drop his opponents, and that's where we see him good enough in both disciplines, jump in, get the hooks, rear naked choke, start working the submissions. I like Kevin when he's leaning on his striking and he's not intentionally trying to grapple. And this is especially a matchup where Kevin needs to stay on the feet and needs to strike often and control the fight that way, because I don't give a fuck that it's been 2 years with Nelson out of here. He is good enough on the ground to still submit Kevin. So another fight that I'm not opposed under 2.5 rounds. I know that these guys are going kind of back and forth between their decision losses here and are very fucking tough. But look at this. Roman Delice, rib injury. Just things that we haven't quite seen from Kevin before. It's like the accumulation of all the wars and activity is maybe starting to catch up a little bit. Here's a rear naked choke as well. If Kevin's mindset is, oh yeah, I'm really cool, Dana White in the UFC, I'm the yes man, sign me up, I'm just here to have fun and shoot my 45 70s, whatever the case may be. He can't just keep going out and getting, finished in the first round. It just, his contract isn't bulletproof in that regard. So maybe, just maybe, he's going to play it a little smart and try not to rush something, because if he gets a first round submission, if Gunnar gets a first round submission against Kevin, not going to look fucking good in his last 3 out. Moving into the co-main, Jan Blachowicz, the legendary Polish power, taking on Carlos Ulberg. Now, I got a bone to pick with these city kickboxing guys, alright? They're good overall. I love the gym. Legendary. A lot of preparation. I love the collaboration with Volkanovski's team as well. The Aussies, the Kiwis. It's this beautiful little thing in the UFC. But man, does it boil my piss at 205 pounds when you got all these killers like Ulberg and Navajo Sterling, and they just somehow have some of the most sloppiest fucking fights. Then they're going into awkward judging where, okay, maybe it's unanimous, but watching the fight yourself, hey, there were some close moments. And You know, these guys aren't world beaters when they're in these tougher exchanges. Now, Ulberg's moved up the rankings, and all these guys that he was flatlining, they just don't quite stack to Jan, and I don't give a fuck that, you know, the legendary Polish power hasn't quite had that legendary Polish power since his win against Dominic Reyes, right? I get that, you know, his decision win over Izzy was an amazing one, but we just quite haven't seen that Polish power, that knockout power, since that earlier time frame. And rightfully so. The man is approaching his own Stipe status where he will go off into the sunset and look back and be not the best light heavyweight, that was Jones, but at least he did it honestly, and was just a good all around guy. Nothing against the Polish power, and I applaud him even further for not being a shitty PED cheat. Now Ulberg, again, this guy's hot and cold. When he's getting his finishes, it's a first round finish, and he's good enough too where it's not just ground and pound or with the striking. He's working in his disciplines as well, and will hunt for that submission if someone is dumb enough to give up their back entirely. But more times than not, it's that on the feet exchanges, and I'm not going to count Jan out just because of his age. I mean, look how his losses have aged recently. Like, he went to the draw with Magomed Ankalaev, but in that first round had Ankh hopping up and down on that leg, something that 5 rounds, 49 fucking leg kicks, Poatan couldn't even accumulate over 5 rounds, and Jan basically opens up with that kick. You know, you can call it a perennial nerve and play the whole sugar bullshit with me. I don't give a fuck. My point is, Jan is a technical striker, and that wisdom doesn't go away just because you are leaving your prime. Ulberg, easily in his fucking prime, but does he have that chess IQ, you know, to sit there and play that game at a high elite level? Jan has played chess with Izzy. Jan has played chess with a lot of these guys. And Ulberg is starting to get there. He's starting to fight some of these guys. But that last fight, what was it? Oostmerk? Volkan Oostmerk? Yeah. I just wasn't fucking impressed. And I'm going to be a little salty and sprinkle on top of the fact that you guys know I love my distant parlays. You guys know I do those. And you know what's funny about these City Kickboxing guys? Both Carlos Ulberg and Sterling, the last 2 times I've included them into my distant parlays, absolutely fucking botched. And I'm talking 6-7 legs that came down to just them being the reason why it lost. It's like, not my bantamweight fight, not my lightweight fight. Oh, my light heavyweight fight. And when you're at 205 pounds and you're a predominantly striker and you're just having these sloppy exchanges, it's like they lose that first round zip and zag to their shots, and we start to see him go to the judges. But again, I'm not counting Jan out of this fight, as things maybe don't go Ulberg's way in the first round. The further this fight goes into that second and that third round, I think it actually starts to favor Jan, and we got to see that with Oostmerk as well. So I am going to take Jan, despite I know it could easily look like utter shit if Ulberg comes out and starches them in the first round. And credit to Ulberg if he has that performance. And to Jan, it's like, well, do you want to set up that retirement fight, or how do you feel now, kind of thing? Because he's had his injuries, he's had time away. It's a tough one back for him. It really is. But I think this is it. I think this makes sense. You know, he needs this win on top of maybe one more impressive win beyond that. Maybe they have him stand idle for Poatan Ankh. Maybe the loser of that fight, because there's unsettled business for either men. But I don't see him getting the title shot after that. He needs to find another opponent after this one, if he gets a win, and truly give this his last shot. Distance on this one, as I just gave that whole fucking rant. Sure, I'll fire under 2.5 rounds. I'm not going to be doing anything with 1.5. I'll do a under over 2.5, and I'll have it going both ways, just given the fact that these guys are having their share at a higher level going to a judge, given Jan's age and given the fact that Ulberg is, well, fighting more technical fighters and isn't the one catching them out as easily. You're not getting just a fucking Menefield charging across like a little rhino at the start of a fight anymore. Congratulations, you're at the top rank of UFC now. Alright, moving up to the main event, the main fight of this card. We got Rocky Leon Edwards taking on Sean Brady. Again, Leon Edwards suffering the staph infection from what we're speculating from some images. Him wearing a sleeve, doing some pad work. You could see it in some pictures that had been zoomed in. I mean, it's staph infection. Like, let's not call this shit, let's not call it what it's not. And then Brady at the same time, he's bringing that pressure. That he's comfortable with the striking, but he isn't coming into this fight to be on the feet with Leon long term. He's going to invest in some leg kicks and find his opportunity. Pounce on Leon, clinching up against the side, wrist control, trying to work in some knees, eventually maybe get the takedown. And if this happens, if Leon Edwards is taken down throughout this fight, which I'm predicting throughout 5 rounds, Brady probably gets at least 4 takedowns in this fight. I'm expecting that as long as a few of these takedowns are early in one of the rounds where Brady's got 3 minutes or more control time, hunting for submission, peppering in some shots. Would love to see these guys leverage that 12-6 elbow, by the way. I could just see, in addition to the fact that Leon didn't look the best time out his last time against a grappler, although Muhammad's going to be a bit stronger in the wrestling category than Brady by a bit, right? But as far as the jiu-jitsu threats, man, if Brady has that time to work, I'm not discounting the fact that he can be the first person to submit Leon Edwards. But I'm going Leon Edwards. I was going Leon Edwards prior to the staph infection. I just think that on the feet, he's great. He's very good. He can cause enough damage to Brady. And, when Edwards is on, look what he was able to do with Kamaru Usman's grappling. I mean, it was the best in 170 until it wasn't, right? All of a sudden, he was the one getting taken down. And all of a sudden, he's the one getting his shit stuffed by Leon Edwards. But, man, in that first fight, he had his way with Rocky. And in that second fight, Leon came back and was the one showing showing Usman, like, I'm the wrestler now, and this wasn't just a fluke. I'm taking you down. He has it. We'll see if the energy is enough to allow Edwards to pace that kind of, counter grappling and grappling exchanges. I think it would be wasteful to engage. He needs to keep this fight on the feet striking. He cannot allow Brady's stamina, especially, to win this 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Factoring in the staph infection, I really do worry that is exactly what happens. And so my final pick is going to be determined after weigh-ins, and we can hear some of that pad work and just kind of get more insight on this shit. I know my heart is telling me that don't doubt Edwards. It was a really tough, shitty situation. Also, on top of the fact that the time zone he was fighting in last time, despite it was home, he was fighting at like 5 a.m. Everyone else had great sleep and rest and felt comfortable. He had to adjust his entire fucking camp going into that fight against Belial and prepare to fight at 5 a.m. So we'll see if this goes a little different for him. I am worried on this one. I'm not locking Edwards in. I'm just edging him. But the staph infection is pointing me more and more to Brady. And if I go with Brady, it's got to be by submission and decision. I would comfortably lock that as a double method. I would sprinkle on submission if the prop is high enough. And if distance on this fight under 4.5 rounds is a good plus odd, it's going to be part of that whole smorgasbord full of under overs. But because there's just not that many fights that I'm super, super confident for sure go under or for sure go over, these are going to be short parlays, 3-4 legs. So that's going to conclude my breakdown. Again, there's a quick little visual. If you have a moment, hop over to IG. We just hit like 850 followers, which for hitting my 1 year last week is pretty cool for me. I've had a lot of fun on this platform, meeting a lot of fans, some fighters, other sport card collectors, and some degenerate gamblers. So we're having fun over there. And if you're watching this, I greatly appreciate it. Like side, if you could swing over to the tube. Sorry, I was just trying to hear what that was. Swing over to the tube, like, comment, subscribe. That is where I'm trying to give my biggest efforts in the coming year or so, to do more on that platform, have more engagement, build up some subscribers, do more live stream, do Fight Companion, and just have some fun there. Eventually, we'll do some big giveaways, some incentives. I'll start to try to migrate some of IG over to YouTube and make it worth everyone's while, and doing that. So that's going to be my breakdown. Sorry, I've had a very difficult work week and be on call this weekend, so I'm praying to God that the phone doesn't ring during these fights and I can just enjoy my time. So, all right, that's going to do it for me for now. Much love. Peace.